to Roma. Here we go. It's done. It's confirmed. It's not official because there is no official announcement yet, but he will be your manager to start from fresh, to, I guess, start a new project with. And he will be the manager of our future to try and lift as many trophies as possible and to try and bring us the highest level that he could possibly bring us. Guys, I mean, it's the end of this manager hunt. It's been a while. It lasted so long. I am so happy that the name has been revealed because I could not have lived another week of reading rumors and then those rumors being denied, and then Klopp, and then Ancelotti, and then but Gasperini, but we want Fabregas. Order, stability. Now we have a manager, now we plan. And I think with a manager like Gasperini, planning is the most important thing. You need to plan. You need to back him. Gasperini is the most important thing. And I think in this period of time, now that we've got a period of time that, the players are on holiday, now that we have an off period, we can call it, I reckon it's also, we should use this time, not we, but Roma, Ranieri, Dan Fredkin, Ryan Fredkin, Gasperini himself, as immediately after the announcement comes through, the official announcement comes through, they should use this time to start, telling the fans why this decision has been made, and to try and connect the fans which don't want him and don't particularly like him, connected to him. Because look, this is something that I will push forward. This is an idea that I have. This is an idea that all of us should have. You might like him, you might hate him, you might like him as a person, you might hate him as a person, you might love his character, you might hate his character. Fine, I will be honest. I am not a fan of his character. I have hated him in the past. But there is something that we need to do as a whole now, and it's coping. He is a good manager, and we need to put aside these sensationalist thoughts. We need to put them aside, and we need to learn how to cope. Because otherwise, if we don't want managers because they aren't, fun people to be around, we're never going to get good managers. Is Conte a nice manager? Yeah. Does Conte have a nice personality or a nice character? I don't think so, but he wins. Does Spalletti have a good personality? People say, oh, I want Spalletti back. Well, then you're contradicting yourself. Spalletti's a dickhead, but Spalletti's a good manager. Last example, Mourinho. Was Mourinho ever nice with us when he was at Inter? Do we remember when Mourinho in 2010 started going zero titoli, directed to Roma? And then we all know what Mourinho left. So I think moving forward, put aside the sensationalist thoughts. I'll say it again, you don't have to play pool with him. He needs to manage your football club. And I reckon that the faster we get these divisions away, the better it will be. The faster we all understand as a whole that he is a good manager. Now, again, that doesn't mean that he will thrive and win the Serie A with us, because it's not an easy task, and he said it himself, and he knows them himself. And in order for Gasperini to succeed, you need backings, and this is the thing that I'm most worried about. I'll get on to my biggest worry. As an introductory sentence, I would say I am happy because out of all the names that we've been linked with, apart from the Klopps or the Contes or the Ancelottis, no, maybe not even Ancelotti, he is the best manager that we could have picked. If you look at him on a technical point of view and forget, again, putting aside your sensational thoughts, he's probably one of the best picks that we could have had. So I'm happy with this pick. I think he's a great manager, but I think if I think that he's a great manager, I also think that he is, he's got a tough personality, and if you don't back him and if the players don't follow him, it won't last long. And this is what I would say to kind of sum it up briefly. I would say I'm happy with this pick, but as I said on Monday, or whenever I said this, it either goes really well or it either goes really bad. I am not 100% going to put my hand on fire and say that with Gasperini we will win everything, because I think there are elements of this that could go wrong. The first element is that the ownership doesn't back him, that the ownership doesn't give him total control in the transfer window, and that would already be a bad thing because he needs his own picks, because that means that he can value his players like he wants. And the other thing which could go wrong, but I hope I'm wrong, is that the players need to follow him. Now, we can't allow ourselves revolutions this summer for two reasons. One, because we don't need to revolutionize this team. Some of you guys might go, well, with Gasperini, yes, you need to revolutionize this team because the majority of these players can't play Gasperini systems. And part of me agrees. But the other side comes in and go, we can't revolutionize even if we wanted to because we already restricted in the transfer window. If you revolutionize and sell 15 players, you've got to replace those 15 players. And that means buying, spending money, and giving wage caps to all of these 15 players. And Gasperini knows this himself. You know, people, and this is where, you know, the last 24 hours, we were all going to go, oh my God, Juventus, Conte staying at Napoli. What will Juventus do? Will Juventus hijack the Gasperini deal? We all thought yesterday morning, seeing the Conte news, that Juventus were going to hijack Gasperini because Juventus offered more money, because Juventus had a better project, and because deep down, Gasperini is a Juventus, you know, hardcore himself. He's always said this. So I think yesterday, we all got launched the news saying Gasperini might not want to go at Roma because the situation, the financial fair play situation is unclear to him. Do we really think that Gasperini came to know about our financial fair play situation when he had the lunch with Ranieri and Ghisolfi in Florence 2 days ago? And that is where, don't believe everything that the media says. Ranieri has described how restricted we are in the next 2 transfer sessions perfectly well since January. And him and Gasperini had already contacted themselves back in January. So do we really think, when we read the rumors going, Gasperini doesn't know if he wants to accept Roma, if he wants to accept the Roma job, because he's uncertain about the backing and things? Well, no, because Gasperini knew and knows how restricted we are and knew this since months ago. However, one thing that I can guarantee you Gasperini wanted to confirm is that I think, knowing that we're restricted in the transfer session this summer and this winter, and next summer and next winter, I think he wants the best investments immediately. And I think this is something that he himself has studied. I think when they sat down with Ghisolfi and when they sat down with Claudio and when they sat down probably with the Fredkins as well, I think, this is my opinion, but I reckon that he's asked for the biggest backings to be immediately. So, for example, if Dan Fredkin went to him and said, you can pick, you either can get 3 players that you really want right now, but then in the winter session and next summer we spend less money, or you can start gradually and this winter maybe we can get a good investment, and moving into next summer, if we qualify for the Champions League, we can hire the goal and we can hire the target of investments. I would bet everything I have that Gasperini chose the first option, which is at least having 2 good investments now. Because Gasperini knows that he needs to start well. He needs to start well. Now, that doesn't mean he needs to start well immediately, boom, we win the league. No. But he knows himself that the first 3 months up to Christmas are vital. Because he knows that he's unpopular, because he knows that the pressure will get to him. So I'm like, I need to start strong to get the faith from the fans, to get the confidence from the fans, and to not let, the initial discontent, the initial pressure, and the initial discontent towards him reach to him. He needs to start strong, because otherwise, it's gonna go downhill. Okay, this is a tough environment to work in, but this is exactly why I think he won. And if he had the choice to pick out of the two options, he chose the first. Okay. Now again, I mentioned this a few days ago. I don't think there was going to be a revolution, because we can't allow, and we can't do a revolution. We can't, because a revolution means replacing all the players that you sell, and we can't do that. Gasperini plays with a 3-4-2-1 system. I think players who he doesn't want are Pellegrini and Dovbyk. If I had to say right now who he doesn't want, I don't think he wants Dovbyk, because I might be wrong. I'm not Gasperini. I don't work in Gasperini's mind. But based on our knowledge of how he wants to play, and based off what we've seen Dovbyk in the first 12 months, Dovbyk is the last striker Gasperini would want, because Dovbyk is way too static. Gasperini needs, somebody who attacks the depth, somebody who, as I said before, a physical beast who lets the other players advance into the box for them. Okay? So, it's not an example. Look, when Atalanta's best period, Retegui, Scamacca, two players who are physical players, who attack the depth. Dovbyk doesn't do this. Long balls, through balls. And the other big example that I have, back when Gasperini at Atalanta years ago, is Duvan Zapata. Duvan Zapata and Muriel in his Atalanta team back in a few years ago. That was probably his best Atalanta side. That's where his Atalanta side decided to become a big certainty of Italian football. They were physical monsters, and and they were a perfect binomial, because Zapata was, physical monster, and Muriel was a speed guy. And these are all characteristics that Dovbyk doesn't have, because Dovbyk is slow, because Dovbyk is static, and because Dovbyk can only, Dovbyk is a poacher. Gasperini can't allow for the rhythms, the intensity, and the systems that he wants. He can't allow a striker to be that static. Okay, but this is where I wanted to get to. I think one of the biggest one of the biggest factors that could determine whether Gasperini thrives or not in Rome is up to the players. Because we've seen these players, and we know these players very well. Okay? We know them. These players are great. These players are great human beings, funny guys, worked their ass off in the last, 6 months. They deserve credit. But don't forget that there have been examples in the past where these players, especially, the leading ones, Cristante, Mancini, Pellegrini, turn into lions, in a sense that Gasperini could be another antelope that you put in the cage, and the second these players get annoyed, they attack this antelope and play against him. It's happened in the last weeks with Mourinho. It happened since the beginning with Juric. And the thing which worries me here is not Gasperini and his personality, because you need a tough personality at Trigoria. And this is exactly what I'm looking forward to. 3 training sessions a day, sweat your ass off, don't complain. If you don't like it, fuck off. That's what Gasperini does. And we need that culture back at Trigoria. The problem here is that Juric is basically a descendant of Gasperini ball. Juric always identified himself in Gasperini. Now again, it's like comparing, a random graffiti with the Mona Lisa, comparing Juric with Gasperini. I'm not even doing that, because Gasperini is more experienced, and Gasperini, is the, if in a situation where you've got Gasperini and Juric together, Gasperini is the teacher and Juric is the student. Okay, so Gasperini is 10 times better than Juric, also because he's Italian, communication and everything. But, you know, these players rejected Juric's system, and Juric's system was trying to be very similar to Gasperini. So, yes, we can't allow a revolution, and yes, we don't need a revolution, but we need to, we need to ideally get players that will fit his system even more. That's the goal, okay? Because, again, another reason why you can't compare the two is because one of the reasons that the players rejected Juric's system is because they were ready to fight with De Rossi, okay? So the Juric appointment and the De Rossi sacking caught them out of surprise, that they kind of also mutinied against the board in a way. The Juric experience is not comparable to anything. It's not comparable to anything because it was sudden, it was unexpected, it made no sense, and for the players themselves as well, it never worked out and they never wanted it to work out. It's different because now, you're starting with Gasperini, you have a preseason with Gasperini, but, Gasperini systems, again, require running, sweating, pressing, and these players are great, but I'm not sure if they can keep 12 months of football playing like that, which is why this preseason is vital. This preseason, and which is why it takes time. Okay, so again, yes, the first months are vital for the pressure, but realistically, we can start judging Gasperini during his second Christmas if he gets to it. You can't judge him now. You can't judge him after 3 months. And hopefully the owners don't make this mistake. But I think Ranieri will definitely help in this. And Ranieri will be there to be the shield whenever the attacks and the pressure get to Gasperini. Which is why Ranieri has a very fundamental job. Yeah, which is why, Ranieri is that definitely has a key in this. It's 1 a.m. in Hanoi, but I'm still awake to watching your video. Gasperini becomes Roma new manager is such refreshing news. Good night to you, I guess. Hello, Ibrahim. Hey, Arnold. Gasp is not our heart's choice, but we should trust this decision. Exactly, we should. And don't forget, because the narrative will also say, yes, he's been an idiot with us in the past. And I think the apice of everything was the Ndika comment. The Ndika comment, more than an attack to Roma, it's just disrespectful. Remember when Ndika collapsed in the game against Udinese, and then, the day after we all discovered that, it was serious, yes, but it wasn't something drastically serious because it has nothing to do with his heart. It was, a kind of a chest pressure problem. But of course, when you play football, you don't know these things. And then, the following week, his game against Fiorentina was postponed because of Joe Barone's death. And he said, our games get postponed for serious matters, not for yellow codes. And I think that was unnecessary. And I agree, he's made mistakes in the past with us, but I think he knows this himself. However, the narrative will twist it like this. The narrative won't tell you the fact that, first of all, he left a team where he's loved for a team that initially he knows where he won't be loved. Number two, he kept our word. Juventus had more money. Juventus had Champions League football. Juventus had a better project. Okay? And deep down, Gasperini, being from the surroundings of Turin, managed Juventus's kids once, is a Juventus fan deep down, everybody knows it, kept his agreement with Roma when there was the chance of his life to go to Juventus, which is the club that he's always wanted to go to. So I think, yes, the narrative, the Roma media, Gasperini's been an idiot with us, but, I think sometimes the media and the narration won't spin it in the other way. He wants this challenge. He knows that this challenge could go very, very bad. But he also knows that this challenge is the challenge of a lifetime. Because he knows that winning in Rome means winning 10 league titles with Juventus. The equivalent of one league title in Rome is 10 league titles with Juventus. The equivalent of one Europa League victory in Rome, after the way we lost that victory exactly 2 years ago, 31st of May, means, almost, I'm not saying winning the Champions League, but it's not far. So he knows that this is a challenge. He knows that if the board backs him and if the players follow him, he can thrive. And if he thrives in Rome and wins, he will get the fans on his back. And that's why I'm happy with this pick. And that's why, first of all, in premise, I trust Claudio in everything he does. And if Claudio identified in Gasperini the way forward, the best for Roma, I trust him. And I'm willing to go to war with Gasp to try and win as many trophies as possible now. I know I said this with Juric as well. Fuck Juric. Never wanted to even step. And I lost everything, lost every element of passion of football in Roma with Juric. So, no. I know I said this with Juric as well. But, now things is serious. We're starting from scratch. Pre-season to prepare. Planning, organization. It's time to back him. It's time to defend him. At the end of the day, he's your manager. We don't judge the man. We judge the manager. Did you read the interview with Didier? I did. Yes, very interesting. I might speak about it tomorrow. It's actually a good one. I want only Serie A title. I have the feeling that Champions League will be the least he can do. We may really have a shot for Serie A or Europa League. I don't like him, but I trust Claudio. And I'm so happy that Juve is pissed outside the pot. We have a solid team now. The lads have been through a lot together. Do you think he's going to get rid of Dybala? No, but I think he'll use Dybala less because... But I think it's also, depends Dybala's fitness, of course. If Dybala's perfectly fit, then Dybala is the best player in the league. But Sule's been great lately. So I think we won't sell Dybala, but I think Dybala will be rotated more. Because in a 3-4-2 system, a 3-4-2-1 system is perfect for Paulo. And Gasp always wanted these creative players. Remember with Ilicic, even when he demanded Samardžić last season at Atalanta. So... No, I don't think he will not want Dybala. But of course, Dybala's fitness is a question mark. How will he get back from the injury? I don't know. We don't know. How much of a transfer budget do you think the Fredkins promised to him for Gasp to ignore Juventus like that? Well, look, that's a tough question. But again, Gasperini is more than... He demands a lot, yes. And of course, every manager demands a budget, which is a good budget. But I think Gasperini, rather than a budget, rather than wanting a big budget, he's more focused in having control in decision than in the transfer window. Because Gasperini, if you say, I will spend 30 million on this player because Ghisolfi has advised him to him, or I can spend 10 million on this player that you know, that you want, that you've asked for, that you know the stats about, and that you know how to implement in your system, then Gasperini will always choose the second option. Because he demands, yes, and you need to stick with his demands, but he doesn't he's not Mourinho, he's not Conte. He's not Conte who goes, De Laurentiis, if you want me to stay, you got to give me a 200 million budget plus Kevin De Bruyne this summer. He's not that. He demands yes, but he'd rather demand control than big budgets. Of course, if you can match the two things, that's where the winning ingredient is. But now that we're restricted, in these next few transfer sessions, it's going to be hard. I will hold my judgment on Gasperini until I see some results, but honestly, I am uncomfortable, says Philip. A lot of people are uncomfortable with Gasperini. I guess everybody thinks whatever they want. But I think, when I think to end this, I would say, now that he's official, there's no need to be sad. Back him. Let's go with him. And, we have to... If otherwise, we'll be back in that black hole. Fans are divided, fan bases, divided in half and everything. We can't do anything about it, whether you like him or not. They chose him. They're going to announce him in the next few days. Cope. Okay, so get the pessimism and comfortableness away. Look at the manager, not the man. Look at the guy who will be behind the touchline, not the guy who you gotta eat caviar and salmon with. Okay? We cannot afford to pay 9 million a year to Paolo. I love him, but it's not sustainable, says Lupo. I'm happy with Gasp, however, paramount. He recruits players that are capable of playing his style of football and his training regime. Failure to do this will end up with the dressing room refusing. Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why I said I am happy with the pick, but it could go wrong. But look, I guess we need to be willing to take this risk. It could go very wrong. If you don't back him, if the players don't follow his indications, he'll be sacked by Christmas. But look, there's nothing that we can do now. Do you think we'll get Roma the Champions League or Coppa Italia medal? I don't know, we'll see. Can you promise me Chilik will be out? I don't know. I hope so. Gasperini is a good fit. You want the old father figure, plus an entertaining system, someone for a long project. He's all his credentials and knows this area, and Claudio trusts him. Right, the last thing which I want to do is read the letter that he sent to Atalanta. It was not possible to express this before because only in the last few hours have I really decided to put an end to this wonderful 9-year story. Let's not talk about goodbye though. I don't like it. I'm closing my experience in Bergamo as coach of Atalanta. Everything else instead will remain unchanged. The end of my relationship with the club was decided solely by me, and no responsibility should be attributed to the board and its directors. I simply understood that the time had come to take this step. Throughout the season that just ended, I only thought about how to leave Atalanta at the highest possible point. And I leave it in a 3rd place in the standings and qualified for the Champions League, where once again it will be able to play in the most prestigious stadiums in Europe, being able to count on a strong team full of valued players. With the club, we have managed to achieve indisputably extraordinary results. I would have liked to do more. I didn't succeed, but we will still rejoice a lot together, and I'm sure that we will do so again. Why, you may ask, am I leaving Atalanta? For the need for new stimuli, for the trust you've given me, and for the renewed enthusiasm that comes from it. It's going to be a difficult challenge, very, but we're talking about a great challenge, exhilarating challenge that gives me a lot of adrenaline. We will see each other again in Piazza Pontida, I promise. P.S. I am an honorary citizen of Bergamo, and I swear that I will carry the very high values of this city everywhere and forever. Gasp will be in Rome on Wednesday for Scamacca's wedding, reported by Sky Sports, and that will be a chance to sign the contract, official announcement, and maybe introductive press conference. Bring it on. It'll be a key one. Right, guys. Love you all. Let me know in the comments what you think. Hit the like, subscribe. 100 likes would be great. And tomorrow we will react to De Rossi's interview. A very, very interesting one. Love you all. Simo out. Oh, Champions League final tonight, of course. I'm going Inter to win. Yes, I am. I think Inter will win to make Italy proud. Love you all and enjoy the game. Simo out.